Buying business computers isn't about grabbing whatever's on sale at the big box store. It's about matching the right machine to the person who's using it. And getting this wrong can cost you thousands in lost productivity. Hi, I'm Brad Nelson, the CEO of FRCS Tech, and I help businesses eliminate IT headaches and stay secure. Every role in your business has different computer needs. If you give them too little power, they waste time. If you give them too much power, you waste money. The right match means faster, more efficient work, fewer IT headaches, and a longer lifespan for your investment. Start by thinking about how each employee uses their computer. Figure out what software they're using, what tasks they're normally using, and that's how you can determine what hardware they need. At FRCS Tech, we like to break this down into 4 main categories just to make things simple. The first category is basic office users. Now, these people are generally just checking their email, working on some basic office documents, and doing a little bit of web browsing. The next category is power users. These people are dealing with larger files, maybe complex spreadsheets. They're dealing with more specific and more demanding business software. And they're usually multitasking all the time, having multiple applications on their computer open at one time constantly. The next category is creative/technical users. Now, these people are generally using extremely demanding software like CAD software and video editing software or other design software. And then our final category, which can kind of fit into the other 3 categories as well, is mobile workers. These people are usually in sales, or they might be a field tech, or somebody else that goes out into the field to do work, and they need a mobile solution. So once you know the role, you can match it to the right specs. But how do you know which specs are important and what to look out for? So there's 3 main specs to look out for on each computer when you're trying to match it to your employee's role. Actually, there's a little bit of a 4th one, but that's only applicable to the more design, creative, technical users. But the 3 main ones are processor, RAM, and storage. And the 4th one is graphics processing. But for most users, that isn't too big of a deal. In order to understand how all these specs work and what their importance is, you can think of a computer like a big desk with drawers in it. The top of the desk is like your RAM. The more desk space you have, the more things you can have on it at once and work on at once. Just the same with RAM. The more RAM you have generally means the more applications you can have open at once and running smoothly. The drawers in your desk is like the hard drive or solid state drive in a computer, where you store things for later. Now, the bigger the drawers you have, the more things that you can store there, and the larger things you can store there. Likewise, with a hard drive or a solid state drive, the larger the number means the more files that you can store. And then the processor would be you standing at the desk. And that dictates how quickly and how efficiently you can get through the work that's on top of your desk. So for basic office users, we recommend starting with an Intel Core i3 processor or AMD Ryzen 3 processor, 16 gigabytes of RAM, and a 256 gig solid-state drive. For power users, we recommend starting with an Intel Core i5 processor or an AMD Ryzen 5 processor, 32 gigabytes of RAM, and 512 gigabyte solid-state drive. Now for the creative/technical/design role, it's really hard to give a recommendation because the workloads and the requirements can vary wildly. For example, a more technical role, like some of our technicians, the work that they're doing, they require a very fast and strong CPU, a lot of RAM for a lot of multitasking, but generally not a whole ton of storage space or graphics processing power. On the other hand, somebody who is a video editor is going to require a lot of space, terabytes and terabytes of space, probably a combination between solid-state drives and hard drives. Not only that, they might require a dedicated graphics card depending on what software they're using. So we recommend creating a list of the software that this person is going to use and looking up the recommended system requirements to use the software. Use that as a starting place and adjust where you need to. And finally, mobile workers. Now, all of the other three categories can be a mobile worker. The main difference that you're going to see between a mobile worker and somebody who isn't mobile is you can buy a desktop computer for those who aren't mobile, but you will need to consider getting a laptop or some sort of tablet for the mobile workers, depending on their needs. Now, besides specs, the biggest mistake we see businesses make when picking out computers is buying consumer class computers rather than business class computers. I have a couple computers here. I want to show you the difference here. This is an HP small form factor. This is an HP slimline desktop. And this is what's considered a consumer class computer. This is something that you'd pick up on sale at Costco. Now these computers over here are business class computers. And set this here. You can see this one is a Dell Optiplex 7060, and it is a similar form factor to this one. However, this is a business class computer. This is another business class computer. This is an HP ProDesk, and HP made this one and HP made this one, but this is a business class computer and this is a consumer class computer. So what is the real difference between consumer class and business class, and why should you avoid buying consumer class for your business? Comes down to a few different things. So the first main difference is build quality and durability. The consumer class computer is going to have cheaper, thinner plastic and metal components, whereas the business class is going to have more durable, thicker metal and plastic components. Even the hardware in them might be similar, whereas you might be able to get a consumer class computer with a 14th gen i7 and a business class computer with a 14th gen i7, and it is the same processor. However, other components like the motherboard might be more cheaply built in the consumer class computer. And as far as longevity, the business class computers really shine because they are designed to be repaired and upgraded easily, whereas a lot of consumer class computers are not. And that's reflected in their warranties. With a consumer class computer, we normally see 6 months to 1 year in duration, and they're usually mail-in warranties. With the business class computers, they usually come with the warranty as part of the cost, and their duration is 3 to 5 years on average. The other thing is, most of the time, you can buy extended warranties for these business computers to make them last longer and get support even longer than that. Now, the next main difference is security features. A consumer class computer nowadays will have a TPM chip and secure boot, and this is a requirement that Microsoft is pushing with Windows 11. And those features used to be pretty much exclusive to business class computers, but are now found on consumer class computers. However, the business class computers have those plus others. Things like BIOS protection, things like remote management and remote wipe, things like network boot, so that you can remote image computers or remote boot them if you need to, or boot to an image on a server for particular workloads. The other things that it has is little things like a Kensington lock, so you can lock it to a desk so it can't just walk away. And often business class computers come with access control features like smart card readers and fingerprint readers for more secure access. Another main difference is performance under load. Business class computers have really well designed cooling systems to help keep the computers from overheating under heavy workloads. Their hardware is also designed to manage those heavy workloads consistently without stopping. Consumer class computers generally have less capable cooling systems. unless you're buying some sort of gaming machine. And they generally are good for short bursts of activity, but after prolonged use, they can get overheated and they can slow down. Now, there's a big difference in upgradability and serviceability between these two classes. Consumer class computers, unless you're buying a gaming computer, but even then, oftentimes will have soldered on components or a very limited capacity to upgrade. These computers are designed to be as cheap as possible so that they can sell as many as possible, and they're meant to be replaced, not upgraded and serviced. Whereas a business class computer has that longevity in mind. When they design this, they design everything to be serviced and upgraded if necessary. And you can see this even in how these cases open. With this consumer class computer, there's a screw that you have to pull, and then you slide the kind of flimsy side panel off to gain access. Whereas on this Dell Optiplex, all you do is push a lever and the side pops off and you have full access to everything. Also, most of the things in these business class computers are toolless, meaning you don't have to use a screwdriver or any special tools at all to replace components, making it a whole lot easier to replace dead components or upgrade components. Whereas with the consumer class components, you usually need a screwdriver and maybe some other specialty tools as well. Another major thing to consider is standardization. Buying the same model of computer for all of your employees with little tweaks depending on their role will greatly reduce downtime and make IT support a whole lot easier. You can have, instead of having to buy different replacement parts for each computer, you can have the same replacement part for all your computers on hand just in case. It also makes imaging the computers easy because you can make one master image that works on all of your computers. Buying consumer class computers can make standardization difficult because the hardware goes out of date really quickly and they're coming out with new models every 6 months to a year. And when they come out with a new model, they discontinue the old model. With business class computers, they keep the same models for multiple years so that you can easily standardize your hardware and keep your computers going for longer. Now, you might be looking at these computers and you say, yeah, but the consumer class computer is almost half the price of the business class computer with the same specs. Why should I spend more on a business class computer when I can get the consumer class for so much less? So let's say that the consumer class computer costs $500 and the business class computer with the same specs costs $900. But the consumer class computer only lasts 1 to 3 years, whereas the business class computer lasts 5 to 7 years. Over 6 years, the business class computer covers that replacement cost, not to mention all of the costs that you're going to be saving with productivity and ease of management and fewer moments of downtime. And when I say that these business class computers are built tough and built to last a long time, I mean it. This is my personal Lenovo ThinkPad T430. I just recently upgraded from this computer to another one about a month ago. And this computer still works. It just has a few things that are getting a little creaky and old. This laptop came out in 2012. That's right. It's 2025 right now. This came out in 2012. And it is still a working computer that I was using every single day without any problems up until recently. The right computer is an investment in your team's productivity and your bottom line. If you're having trouble figuring out which computers to buy for your staff, we can help. There's a link below this video in the description where you can schedule a free 30-minute consultation with us at FRCS Tech, and we'll help you figure out which specs you need for which role in your organization. And again, it's 100% free. Thank you for watching this video on which computers to buy for your business. Hopefully we were able to give you some good information today to help you make the right decisions for your technology in your business. If you want to learn more things about technology for your business, there will be another video on screen here that hopefully will give you some more good info.